Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. If you are new, which I feel like some of you guys may well be, because this is the kind of video that maybe you stumble across because you're looking for this type of video as opposed to you're just watching it because you follow me already. So if you are new, my name is Shannan. Hi. We do all sorts of videos here on this channel. I've recently done a Disney vlog series from our Walt Disney World trip, and I also have another Disney vlog series on here too, which includes our wedding day at Discovery Cove. I vlogged my little boy's birth, and I just like to film lots of our adventures and day in the life stuff in between too. So we've recently just moved house, so there's lots of like renovation stuff going on. So if any of that stuff does sound like anything you'd be interested in, then please do make sure to subscribe, as I'd love to have you here. But for today's video, this is my traveling with a toddler or little one tips and tricks video. So like I said, we recently went to Walt Disney World. I say recently, I'm filming this in September and we went in May, so it's been a while, which is frustrating because I feel like I've kind of forgotten a lot of specifics of things. However, hopefully I'll be able to share enough of our experience that hopefully it can help some of you. I've tried to break it down into kind of categories, but I did already try to film this video. However, I was very under the weather and I kept stumbling on my words and coughing, and I sounded really gross. I mean, you can still hear it still in my voice a little bit. It's a couple of days later now, so I am sorry if I sound a bit yucky, but yeah, I was getting in a right tears was the other day trying to film it, and I just abandoned it because I just was not feeling good, and I kept like just talking too much, a bit like what I'm doing now. So I'm going to stop talking too much. I'm going to get into the video. Please do give this a thumbs up if you find this helpful, if you enjoy these kind of videos. I have also got some questions I'm going to answer at the end, which I was asked over on Instagram. So I'm going to do the first half of this video kind of just like my tips and tricks that I've kind of listed down, and then the second half I'll answer some of your guys' questions as well. So first of all, I'll talk about kind of airport stuff and like the travel day. So first thing that we did that we felt like was really helpful for us was that we booked a lounge. So there's all sorts of lounges at airports. You can get a lounge depending on what class you're flying in. If you're flying like business, you can have access to the business lounge, etc. But we weren't. We were just flying normal kind of economy world traveller with British Airways. So what we did is we paid, I think it was around £30 each, for myself and my husband. My little boy, I forgot to mention at the beginning, he is about 15 months-ish at the time of travelling. So obviously a lot of what I'm saying is referencing that, and that was our experience with him being that age. At the lounge, you basically just get a nice little seating area. You have obviously just access to the toilets and the changing rooms and things, like just nice and easy, no queuing, and like nice and clean and things like that. But there's also unlimited food and drink, including alcoholic drinks. There are some alcoholic drinks that are chargeable on top of like what's included, but you can get, like I was drinking pink gin and lemonade, I think. Ollie was drinking beer. I say drinking, we had like one each or something. But it was really nice to just have that space where we could just be with Buzz. Obviously you could eat as much as you wanted, so they had like all breakfast food out, and it meant we could give Buzz lots of food to fill him up before the flight. We found it really beneficial because we've been to an airport before where it's been so busy that we've not been able to get a table to eat anywhere, and then when you eventually do, it's not necessarily the kind of food you want, but also it's a lot more expensive. Like if it's a chain restaurant, the prices seem to be a lot more expensive at an airport than they do like on the high street quite often. So we figured that you're not actually paying that much more at all to go into a lounge, and to have like a wide variety of food and drinks included and things, and just have that like nice experience of kind of not stressfully queuing and whatever else. But that being said, you know, you can fly and you can just eat at an airport restaurant and it'd be absolutely fine, but just for us it's a nice little touch that we like to do, and it doesn't seem like that much more of an expense. But if you don't do the lounge, I do know that a lot of airports have kind of soft play areas and just little kids areas where you can take your little ones to burn off some energy, burn off some steam before the flight. So that would definitely be something that I would recommend to do. We didn't do it with Buzz this time because security was an absolute nightmare, and we actually didn't have very long at all before we had to get on our flight. So we went straight to the lounge. I didn't even get to do any duty-free shopping, which I was sad about, but yeah, definitely consider a lounge if you kind of want that like relaxed vibe before your flight. I'm a nervous flyer, and it definitely helps like calm my nerves. Like I just mentioned, security took absolutely ages. Well, to be fair, it wasn't security, it was bag drop. It took absolutely ages for us. We were flying BA and we had checked in online beforehand, so in theory what we've been able to do before is just go to the little bag drop like machine, scan your boarding pass and stuff, and it just does it. However, Ollie had been selected for a random security check, which we didn't know. We just knew that when we were trying to do our boarding passes and check in like the day before online, it was letting me and Buzz, and it had our, you know, tickets and stuff, but Ollie, it wasn't letting him, and we just thought it was just like a glitch with the system or whatever. And when we arrived at the airport, basically just no one seemed to understand what was going on. Everyone was kind of waiting to be seen by a member of staff. There were no members of staff around. I actually eventually found like an agency member of staff who didn't seem to work for BA, but more like for the airport in general. I might be wrong on that, but he just was able to help us, and it was brilliant. But it did, like, we got there with plenty of time. Security was quick. This is a top tip as well, which I didn't realise before, but in security at airports, sometimes the queue can be horrendously long, like it was when we went. There are special lines for families, and I don't know what kind of classes as a family. I don't know how little your kids need to be able to use that line. I'm sure you can easily find that information out online, but definitely look into it. The queue was like up and down like the kind of hallway, like it was really busy before you even got into like the main security hall. And I said, like, is there a queue for families? Like, absolutely, come with me this way. And we were fourth, ready to go straight onto the machine, like fourth in the queue, as opposed to kind of crazy queues. And I think if we had to get in the actual queue, we probably would have missed our flight because the bag drop took so long. So yeah, if you're traveling with a family, definitely look for the family queues. You can also pay, like, I think it's £5 per person or something for kind of express kind of security tickets to kind of skip the queue, I think. However, that wasn't available when we booked, and I'm glad we didn't, because the family queue was absolutely fine, and yeah, we saved that money. So yeah, definitely have a look into that. Because Buzz was the age he was, he didn't need to have a seat on the plane. So he was classed as a lap infant, which basically means, yeah, he doesn't have his own seat. For takeoff and landing, he has to be on either mine or Ollie's lap, and they provide like a special belt that clips onto your own belt that goes around their waist. So they're strapped in as well, but they're on your lap for takeoff and landing, and you know, just that's where they're expected to sit. However, you do still pay a little bit of money for this with BA. I don't know about all airlines. I think some do it slightly differently. We did still pay about £200, I think, for Buzz. Because he didn't have a seat, he also didn't have a meal allocated to him. So that's a bit of a weird one. I don't know. I guess they don't know, like kids, you know, from a newborn to a toddler, they can have completely different things that they need in terms of a meal. I totally get that. However, even if it was just some toast, you know, like something offered that was warm, that would be great. But what I did, which a friend actually kind of advised that she did, and I was like, that's a great idea, was to change my meal to a kid's meal. So I knew that he would be getting a warm meal on the plane. I'm not going to say he definitely would have eaten it because he's a fussy little one, but at least he would have been offered a hot meal, and I could have easily just got myself something at the airport, because obviously I'm an adult, I'm less fussy, it doesn't matter as much. But despite me doing that, I did it on the back end of the like manage my booking section on BA. You can go in and you can just choose from a drop down like loads of different meals and like dietary requirements and stuff. And I changed mine to a child's meal for the way out and for the way back. But when we got on the flight and they were bringing around the kids' meals, they didn't bring one. So I was like, okay. They were like, oh, we've got no kind of there's nothing to say that on your booking from our end, like from what we've been told, and we've now run out of kids meals. So yeah, that was a shame because I tried to be prepared and I tried to like make sure Buzz had a nice warm meal available to him, but yeah, for some reason it got missed off. Good job I brought lots of snacks because snacks are the key. We did fill him up before the flight. He slept for a huge chunk of it as well because it was over his nap time, so he didn't actually miss out on like too much, and it was just that one time he wasn't hungry because we did have a lot of snacks on us. And that is like the next thing, is just that snacks are so essential. I'm sure if you have a toddler you already know this, but yeah, we took so many snacks. I actually took a snack box. I'll show you guys as I'm talking because I've not brought anything here to show you, but I'll do a little layover. But we had snack boxes that I've made that had all sorts in. He had the snack box and he really enjoyed choosing what he wanted whenever he wanted a snack from this box, and yeah, he really enjoyed it. It was a nice little novelty for him, and he definitely ate more than enough on that flight. In terms of hand luggage, Buzz had his own bag, I had my own bag, and Ollie had his own bag. Even though Buzz was a lap infant, he did still get a full luggage allowance, which was really good. So yeah, we all had a bag each as hand luggage, and I made sure that we all had a change of clothes in there because you just don't know with a toddler or a little one. They could spill their drink over you, they could get their mucky food hands all over you, they could be sick, they could spill milk. Like you just don't want to get like covered in any kind of yuckiness and be stuck in it for the duration of a really long haul flight. Toys were obviously really important for him. We took a selection of new and old toys. I wanted him to have toys that he knew and recognised and that I knew he loved. He's mega into his cars, so we took a lot of his cars. I took a couple of books that he liked. He likes the That's Not My range, like the touchy-feely books. So we took a couple of those. We took his stacking cups, which are always a hit. And then for new toys, we took this magnet tin. So it's basically a metal tin and it's got magnets in it, and he loved it. He just liked picking them all up, putting them all on the floor, putting them all back in the box, sticking them to the box. Like this magnet tin, it kept him entertained for ages. So magnet tin is like top tier toy in terms of travel toys, in my opinion, for him. He also took a like fidget pop spinner thing. You can get them that stick to the plane window or to like the tray, which would be brilliant. I think they're like suction cupped, but I hadn't seen those when we went, and yeah, this was absolutely fine. He likes it. He likes popping all the poppers. We took a busy book, which I felt like he was just a little bit like not that interested in at the time, but obviously every little one is so different and your little one might absolutely love it, and I'm sure he will as he gets a bit older or whatever, but just for now he was just not really that interested. We took a little light up flashing ball, just loads of different toys. Basically the key was a few staple ones that he knew and loved, a couple more like activity ones like the magnet box, but then also just loads of like little kind of cheapy ones like the fidget toys. He had like a squidgy toy that like goes inside out and made another toy. It's like a reversible like bird thing, which he loved. Like basically just go to Poundland and raid their like cheapy fidget toys, or just because I feel like almost it is definitely just like new and fresh stuff that they appreciate when they're stuck on a flight for a really long time, as well as obviously old stuff that they love. We did take an iPad as well where we had downloaded some shows on. So if you have Netflix you can download shows, if you have Disney Plus you can download shows, if you don't have a subscription thing that you pay for you can download them from like BBC iPlayer and things. They have loads of kids shows available for download. He loves Cocomelon and Little Baby Bumps. That's pretty much what we downloaded. I think I did download Moana because he likes that, and a couple of other bits and bobs, but he pretty much didn't watch it that much. He did watch some Cocomelon at one point, but generally he was just so happy sat on the floor, which I'll get onto in a moment, playing with his cars and his magnets, and yeah, he had a big long nap as well. So something else that we did before the flight, before we got to the airport, basically as soon as we were able to, was to book our seats on the plane. So this might be different depending on what airline you're flying, or things can change all the time, but the time that we went, if you're traveling with an infant, you're able to book your seats for free on BA, which wasn't something that I was aware of. It wasn't something that kind of I thought was made that clear when we booked and things. However, I was just nosing about the manage my booking section, and yeah, it said like you can book your seats for free because you've got an infant. So I did that straight away. We chose the seats that are classed as the bassinet seats, sorry, I never know how to say that, but basically they are seats that are at the front of your like section, and so you've got a wall in front of you that, like, for us it was kind of going into like the business or, you know, premium economy or whatever in front of us. So there's like a wall dividing your section to the section in front, so you're like the front seats of that, and your seats are set back quite far from that divider, so you've got a lot more leg room, and there's a huge tray that folds down from the wall in front of you, and you can provide like a bassinet, I never know if I'm saying that right, to where you can put your little one down on it to sleep, and they also provide a bouncer as well that you can put on there and have your little one in. We didn't use either of those because we felt like Buzz was too big for them. However, having those seats and having that tray was still really, really helpful because that extra leg room was invaluable. Like, if we didn't have leg room where Buzz could play on the floor in front of us, I don't know what we would have done, because that was how the flight just went so smoothly, because it was just like he was just at home playing on the floor with his toys. Like, he didn't know, it was fine. Whereas if you just were really squashed in and cramped with a toddler, I feel like it would be very, very stressful. So yeah, that is like the top tier tip, is to just book legroom seats if you can. They were great, and also they were in a set of 3, so there was the window seat, the middle seat and the aisle seat, and we were really, really lucky that both on the way there and the way back, no one had booked that 3rd seat. So that meant even though we didn't buy Buzz a seat, he did still have his own seat, and I sat at the window, Ollie sat at the aisle, and then the seat in the middle was free for Buzz if he wanted it. By Ollie sitting on the aisle as well, it meant he just stretched his legs out and he kind of made like a wall, so Buzz didn't just run out into the aisle and like annoy everyone. He was just contained in our little floor area, and it was brilliant. Having the huge tray was really handy because you have so much more stuff when you've got a little one, and it just meant we could put our like meals up there, and yeah, just a really would recommend those seats. Something that I wasn't sure about before, as someone who hadn't travelled with a little one on a flight, was like the pram situation. So Buzz's current pram is the Inglesina Quid 2 pram, and we love it. It is amazing. For a kind of lightweight stroller type pram, it's really sturdy and it folds up really small. It actually fits in your overhead locker. We kept him in his pram for as long as possible. It just meant we were able to kind of have him contained in that one place whilst we were kind of dealing with, you know, boarding passes and things like that. And yeah, once we were on the plane, we just took him out, we went to our seats and folded up the pram. Really not something to stress about. Obviously, if your pram is that bit bigger and doesn't have the ability to fold down to go into an overhead, you can just leave it at the plane door and they put it somewhere, I think. Speak to your airline and figure out the options, because I know that some people do check them in, but I can't think of anything worse than like having to go through security with a toddler who's just trying to dart for it all the time. So definitely keep them in their pram for as long as you can. And yeah, I would recommend that for sure. Another tip that I would recommend is, if your little one, depending on their age or whatever, but if they do still have milk, give them a bottle for takeoff and landing, because we know as adults, like takeoff and landing, we know to be sucking on something because your ears can pop and it can really, really hurt, and it's not even just that it's just at that time. I've had it before where it's lasted days and days into my holiday where my ear has like popped and it's not sorted itself out. And when you've got a toddler or a baby, like, you absolutely don't want them to be feeling like that because they can't communicate it to you, and it's just really hard to kind of help them. So yeah, we gave Buzz a bottle for takeoff and for landing. We made sure we had them ready. We just used, I think for takeoff, we used full fat milk that we'd got from the lounge before. We just took an empty bottle with us, knowing that we'd be able to fill it up in like the Costa or Starbucks or whatever else there. And yeah, we just used the lounge, so it was just free milk. And then for landing, we had some pre-made formula. He's not on formula anymore, he's on full fat cow's milk. However, there's no harm in giving him, you know, formula in that circumstance, because it is able to be just kind of opened, given at room temperature, and it's just easy. So yeah, we gave him formula for landing, fresh milk for takeoff, and he actually fell asleep having his milk on takeoff. So even before we had like fully got like, you know, up in the sky, he was asleep. So yeah, that was like the dream, and we were like, oh my gosh, this is going too well. He slept for a good few hours. I think he might have even slept again near the end. But yeah, basically milk for takeoff and landing if they do still have milk. If not, try and think of something that they would like to like suck, you know, whether it's kind of a straw bottle with some juice in or whatever, just making sure that they're sucking on something to kind of help their ears. Obviously we have like boiled sweets and things, but they're a huge choking hazard, so would not recommend those for little ones. But yeah, just thinking of something that would help your little one to kind of be getting those ears going. We did let Buzz walk up and down the aisle a couple of times. I know some people have like mixed feelings on this, but when everyone, you know, it was a good few hours into the flight, everyone was chilled, was very relaxed. We did let him stretch his legs a couple of times, and no one seemed annoyed. Everyone seemed to just love seeing him walk past. He had his cute little onesie on with Mickey ears, and everyone was just like, oh, he's so cute, he's so lovely. Just made everyone smile. So yeah, that worked well for us as well. And for our kind of park bag, we used his same bag, his big silver Tiber and Marl bag, and we had his changing mat in there, his changing bag. We had cutlery in there, not that he really used it all that much, but yeah, we had some cutlery in there, we had a bib in there, and yeah, just the normal stuff. He obviously had baby wipes in his changing bag, but I also took antibacterial baby wipes just to wipe down any surfaces. I know they don't recommend them to have anything other than milk or water when they're little. However, in Florida, the heat was so intense that I wanted to make sure he was definitely drinking enough. So we took some little bottles of squash. I think everyone says that squash is quite hard to come by in the States. They don't really like do it the same way as us. So I just took some just to be sure. And you can get these little bottles from the supermarkets. I know like Robinsons do them and stuff. I think ours might have been from Aldi. You can get them in Home Bargains. They're basically tiny little bottles of squash. They're super strong. So you only need like a tiny amount, especially for a little one. So we just kept that in the park bag. So we would fill up his water bottle with either fountain water, which we try to avoid because I feel like it tastes a bit funny. But you can get cups of ice cold water from the quick service food places and things like that. Snacks. We had so many snacks in our park bag. So we did take some snacks with us from here, but we did also get a grocery delivery, which I'll talk about in a moment. But yeah, got lots of snacks for him on that as well. We just always had them in our park bag. So yeah, if he ever needed one, we weren't like having to leave a queue or like trying to find something that he would like we just had something that we knew he would enjoy, and it was there and it wasn't a stress at all. We had this sun cream and it was like a rollerball, and then it's got a sponge around it, so it rollers onto their skin and then it like dabs it in with the sponge, and it was brilliant. He didn't mind that at all, as opposed to when we're trying to put sun cream on him just with our hands, he's like wriggling everywhere, it goes on too thick. We had the fan that was on his pram, a little pram fan, but we also had a handheld fan. Like I said, when we went, it was super duper duper hot. So yeah, fans were really, really good, and they just charge up with the USB. However, neither of them actually needed charging, I don't think, for the whole holiday. I might be wrong, but yeah, they seem to really hold their battery really well. Something else that we had on our carry-on and in our park bags were like a little kind of first aid type bag. So it had little Calpol sachets, like a Calpol spoon, teething gel, teething powder, paracetamol, like in case I had a headache, plasters, all of those things. You will be able to get all of that, I'm sure, like if you really needed it at the kind of like guest relations or, you know, the family centres or whatever else. But yeah, we just made sure we always had those on us just in case. You never know when a tooth is going to come through or when they're going to get a little bug or whatever else. This isn't specific to like a toddler park bag, but my power bank and like phone charger were really important to have. We had an empty milk bottle on us as well at the time. Again, it depends how old your little one is. You might have like completely come away from baby bottles, but basically we had one bottle that was for milk, as and when we needed it, and 1 bottle that was for squash or water. With a lot of the quick service meals, you can choose their drink to be a carton of milk. So we did that quite often, and then we would pour that into his bottle and he would have that if it was the time that he wanted a milk. And also I feel like he was drinking a lot more milk there than he would at home, because it was just like something he needed, more so because he was thirstier, I suppose, and just it was a comfort, I don't know. But he definitely drank a lot more milk there than he does here. I do have a formula baby. The pre-made bottles of formula are really, really good and handy. They're not the cheapest way to do it, but in terms of ease, they are really good. Or you can also get like a formula dispenser. We had one where it's like a little pot. It had 3 compartments, so you could take 3 like portions of milk, and you put the scoops in to each one for the amount you wanted, and then you take an empty bottle, and then when it came to like making your formula, you just needed boiling water, which you could easily get at like all of the quick services, or you know, the soda fountain places, you know, like to make the tea and coffee and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely doable. I know it can seem really daunting, because where Buzz was a lockdown baby, I think like when we first started going out and about, I was like, how do I do this outside of my house? But there are ways, and yeah, you just got to find what works for you. We also always took a couple of toys in the pram bag, just for, you know, when we stopped off for meals, for like lunches, or had some downtime in like a resort. That would tend to be like his stacking cups, a couple of cars, a book, just the same stuff we took on the plane, but not all of it. But yeah, we would have some toys in the bag as well. Something else that was really handy to have was an empty bag. So we always had an empty bag clipped onto our pram. So we bought these pram clips that are super helpful, would definitely recommend them. They're like carabiner type clips, I think they're called. They're huge, and they are really, really good for all sorts of stuff. If you're using the Disney buses, you have to fold up the pram every time you get on and off the bus. You can't leave them in it. So if your pram basket is full of stuff and it doesn't fold up, it's just a faff. So we tried to keep the pram basket empty like all the time, just so we didn't have to deal with that faff. And we just used a bag that clipped onto the clip, so we could easily get him in and out and just fold up the pram, and all of our stuff was just in this bag. If your little one is in a pram with like a big hood was really, really helpful for us, because obviously if you want them to have naps on the go, then it's really handy to pull over the hood and then like to block out, you know, all of the very stimulating stuff that's in Disney World, and just to let them have like their own quiet time. If it doesn't have a big hood, I know you can get like snooze shades and things. I don't know, I've never used them, but I know there's a whole thing around like covering up prams and like ventilation and getting too hot and things like that. So definitely look into that, do your own research. We had the big hood that pulled over, and also the back of the pram like opened up, so there was like ventilation. It's a really brilliant pram, I do love it. So yeah, try and think of something like that. You know, if your little one needs white noise, then maybe you would have like a little portable white noise machine that you'd have on their pram, or I don't know, just whatever you need to do to make your life easier. Buzz is really, really good. He pretty much slept on the go, just napped in his pram when we were out and about. And there were times where he fell asleep in the hotel room of an evening for like the night, and we took him out in his pram and he just stayed asleep the whole night, even with getting on and off the bus and taking him in and out of his pram. Disney tired is next level. At the time of going on holiday, he had gone down to 1 nap a day at home, but on the holiday he went back to 2 naps, sometimes even 3 naps a day, because it was so hot, really long days, and yeah, it's just a lot, isn't it? Very like mentally stimulating and lots going on and all of that. So yeah, I think just the key for me was to just be relaxed and not to try and force any kind of strict routine. I know for some of you guys that might be really, really important, but we're quite chilled about that kind of stuff anyway. We've always just followed Buzz's lead, and touch wood, that's kind of worked really well for us so far. But I know everyone has their own way that you do things, so yeah. For us, he was happy to sleep out and about. We did get back to the room sometimes for naps, and like for early evenings and things, but generally he was like more than happy to sleep in his pram. Okay, I'm going to answer some of the questions now, I think, because I've kind of said a lot of the stuff I had written down, but I feel like answering these questions as well, I'll probably cover a lot of it too. So first question is, how was sorting washing the bottles, please? So for Buzz, what we did is we had Fairy Up liquid, or what's it actually called? Fairy liquid. I always call it fairy up liquid. Fairy liquid and a sponge, and we just hand washed them in the hotel, like in the bathroom sink. And yeah, that was absolutely fine for us. So you can either obviously take those things with you in just like a, you know, a travel wash bottle, the fairy liquid and a sponge. Had like a towel out where we would let them dry off, and then we would kind of give them a dry over. But yeah, because he is at the age where he's kind of past the like worrying about bottle stage, we, you know, could just rinse them out. We tried to make sure we rinsed them out straight away so there wasn't like milk lingering in them, like even when we were out and about. But then when we got back to the room, we made sure we just washed them up every night, and they were just, you know, clean and ready to go for when we wanted them. If we did have a baby who was still on formula and needed to like sterilize the bottles and everything like that, I would definitely recommend the Milton tablets, doing it that way. That is how we sterilized his bottles in the end, you know, when we needed to. When he was younger, we did used to do them with the microwave one, but the Milton tablets are just like so easy, and yeah, they would be perfect for travel. When I've stayed in a hotel with Buzz before, when he was younger, that's what I did, and yeah, it worked really, really well. New toys are old for the plane, I've covered that. Do they sit still for takeoff and landing, strapped into their own seat? Yeah, so Buzz was just more than happy to be sat on our lap. We were distracting him saying look out the window, and it was just like an exciting experience. So he was just happy to kind of be having a cuddle with us on our lap. And also, like I said, we did give him his bottle, and he was just laying out in our arms, but still strapped around his waist. He didn't even really know he was strapped, I don't think. Do they just sit on your lap on the coach transfer? Yes, he did. He sat on our lap, or on the seat next to us. That was how everyone was doing it on the coaches. They just had little ones kind of holding on to them. Do you over or under pack? Overpacked, but not to a point where it was too much. I feel like we had a nice choice of what we needed. There are a couple of outfits that Buzz didn't wear. I wore pretty much all of my clothes. Ollie had too many, but that was my fault. I packed for him. But it wasn't like an excessive amount. I feel like it was just the right amount of everything really, like clothes, ears, bags. I didn't actually wear my Loungeflies as much as I thought. I wore them a couple of times, but yeah, like I think we took like a good amount with us. What did you pack on a carry-on? Hopefully what I've listed already helped you with that one. Sorry, I'm just looking at all the questions. Is it worth getting a magic band if not staying in a Disney hotel? We are in a villa, thank you. So I love magic bands. They're expensive though, so it definitely does depend. Like you can really just use your ticket and it'd be absolutely fine. I just really like the convenience of just tapping your magic band. It just feels special, but I don't know, it's really up to you. It's not an essential, it's just like a nice thing to have. Tips for takeoff. Top tips for takeoff are, yeah, they'll be strapped to you on your lap, so just giving a big cuddle, talking to them, saying like, you know, pointing out exciting things. We were really lucky that Buzz was just very chilled and not kicking off. If he was kicking off, it would have been a very different experience. But yeah, if they still like a bottle and still like a milk, then whack that out because it's good for their ears and it's a comfort. What pram did you use and did you find it easy to take on the plane? Yeah, so our pram is the Inglesina Quid 2. I absolutely love it. It is a brilliant pram, super sturdy, super easy to fold up really quick, and it's goes small enough that it can go on the plane. We had him obviously in it then through security and things, and yeah, it's a brilliant pram. A huge hood, the back opens up for ventilation like I said. Yeah, really great for travelling and for a park pram, and we use it as our everyday pram now. The big bulky baby one has been banished to the loft. Any tips for the park days? Did Buzz get overstimulated in Disney? So yes, I would say that he was overstimulated, but not to a point where he was like acting out. He was just very kind of subdued. I think like when he's at home, he's chatting away and he's like very expressionate and all of that. Whereas in Disney, he was a lot more like just, he looked like he was in thought like all the time. I think it was just so much to take in that he just was like literally lost for words. He just, there's so much music and the smells and the people. Like you've got to remember, like Buzz has just probably not seen that many people in one place ever. Like it's mad. So yeah, he was definitely like whoa a lot of the time, But really, we just took it so slow. We had no expectations, no pressures. Yes, we did book lightning lanes, which I think was really good because it meant he didn't queue. I don't think he would have coped very well with queuing for very long. So yeah, lightning lane really did help us with that. But yeah, we just really stripped it back, and we knew we weren't going to get everything done. Obviously, it was just me, Ollie and Buzz. I think a lot of people who travel with little ones at this age go with more people, so there's like more hands on and more eyes on, and you know, you're able to do like the child swap and all of that. But we were just doing it, us two and Buzz, and yeah, we did a lot more resort hopping. So we would go to a park early because we'd all be up early. We'd get up and out to a park. Obviously, it was so hot. Like, I cannot kind of say how much the heat affected our trip, and it made it so much harder to do the long park days that we used to do and things. But yeah, so we'd get out to a park, and then we would get whatever kind of transportation, whether it was a bus or monorail or Skyliner or a boat or whatever, to a resort for lunch. So that was a really nice way to come out of the parks, to kind of have a bit of a breather, to let Buzz like stretch his legs, like running around the resort or in the play parks. And yeah, then we would either kind of head back to our resort for some pool time, or we would go to another park or back to the park we'd come from. Just really relaxed, and it really worked for us to do it that way. If it were just us two doing that, we're not a family who go multiple times a year or every year. Disney is a really huge expense, and it's a real privilege to be able to go. Even as much as we've been, I know for a lot of people it's like an absolute once in a lifetime, and that is not like lost on me. I do think with the Disney community, it's really easy to get swept up in the fact that some people do go multiple times a year, and it feels like it's just like the total norm to be doing that. And of course that is for them, and that's incredible. But I think if it were just Ollie and I going, and we'd spent the trip how we spent it, I think we would have felt like guilty that we weren't making the absolute most of getting on every single ride and doing like morning till night park days and all of that. But with a toddler, I feel like we did just the right amount of like everything. We hit the parks early and in the evening, but also like the resort hopping was a really nice addition to the trip. What I'm trying to say is basically if it was just Ollie and I think we wouldn't have done quite as much resort hopping or like downtime, but it worked for us as a family, and that is kind of what we needed. We weren't going to make Buzz feel stressed or too overstimulated, or like, you know, we just wanted it to be a really nice time for all of us. So definitely making time to kind of come away from the hustle and bustle. Aircon in shops is also really great if it's super hot. But yeah, there are lots of like play areas as well in the park. So there's like the splash pads, which are really good to let them run around and like burn off some energy, because I was very conscious that Buzz spent a lot of time in his pram because it was so busy. I didn't feel comfortable with like the age he was, him like running around like down Main Street or whatever, because he's just so little, and yeah, it would have just been a bit like chaotic. But we did get him out of his pram when we could to have little runarounds. I think there's a big play area by Dumbo, like in the tent by the Dumbo ride, which he didn't go in, but we saw it when we were queuing and it looked brilliant. Epcot's really, really good for little ones. There's obviously like the aquariums, there's a lot of kind of interactive stuff going on. We did it very differently. It was less about trying to get on all the big rides all the time and more about just like seeing all the other bits and bobs, the shows, the parades. Someone has said, did it affect naps and suitable rides? So yes, his naps did change, but he was absolutely fine as soon as we came back. It didn't like ruin his schedule, you know, forever. It was just whilst we were away. It was different, but that worked really well for us. He's very like a very chilled baby, and it just worked well. Suitable rides, I probably won't remember to list them all, but the Walt Disney World app, the My Disney Experience app, is really, really good. You can refine the search by like age and height, and yeah, you can really easily see on there what is suitable for different ages and different heights. So Buzz could go on like Small World, Dumbo, Pirates, Frozen, like Figment, I'm forgetting loads, like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. There's so many rides they can go on. He couldn't go on ones like Kali River Rapids and things like that. But yeah, there was plenty he could go on, and he seemed to quite enjoy them. Like I said, he was very subdued. It wasn't like big, huge, like, oh my gosh, reactions, which I thought we might get, because he's very like chatty and stuff in real life, but I honestly think he was just in his own little world. In Hollywood Studios, there is like the Disney Junior section, which is really good. They've got like a Disney Junior dance party where they get loads of the characters on stage, and they do a little show, and that's really, really good. Again, it's nice to just be in a room where they can run around, have a little dance. But yeah, there's loads going on. Like, you really can spend all the time. We didn't do Universal on this trip, but I've heard that that is actually really good for little ones too. There are places that you can go in all of the parks, I believe, that are like family centres. So they are set up to be a space where you can feed your little one comfortably. I think there's like bottle warmers and stuff, and like nursing chairs and all of that. But we didn't actually use those at any point. We just changed him in the normal toilets. They all seem to have changing tables. And yeah, we just didn't use those rooms, but definitely check those out. Is there anything you would do differently after doing this first trip? Yes, I would not go in May again. I would, like, I don't know, people said that it was a freaky hot May. Like, some of my friends have been in May plenty of times and said that it's warm but not like that, but it was like, you know, into the 30s every single day, like 32, 34, like it was just too hot. When we went in February, I've been twice in February, and the weather, like, I would go in February and again in a heartbeat. Like, that weather is perfect. Not too hot, not too cold, just lovely park weather. Yeah, May would not do again. We had the best time. Yeah, it was lovely. It was really, really nice. And I feel like some people think that it's too young to take a little one. At whatever age. Some people like to wait till they're like 7, 8, 9, which I totally get. Like, we wouldn't have done that trip probably at that age if it wasn't Ollie's 30th. Like, it was a big celebration trip for a special occasion. But honestly, no matter what age you take them, it's amazing. Seeing them see the characters, seeing them see the lights, seeing them see the fireworks, like, it is the most magical thing, watching it through their eyes. And I know everyone says that, but it really is true. Like, it's so lovely. So yeah, no regrets. Just, I'm so glad we're able to make those memories with Buzz. I've had quite a lot of questions about like dealing with jet lag and changes to sleep routine and things. So basically our flight was pretty much at Buzz's nap time, I think. I think we took off at like 10 or 11. So yeah, he fell asleep on takeoff. He slept for about 3 hours, 4 hours, I think. Woke up, had a little snack and some food, and then played, and then I feel like he might have got sleepy again near the end. I can't entirely remember. We got to our hotel, got to our room, kind of, you know, freshened up, changed or whatever, and then went out, got some dinner, had a little mooch around, and yeah, I think we went to bed at about, I don't know, probably about 10 or something like that. Like, we tried to stay up as late as possible without it being like crazy late, but I think the longer you can last on that first day, despite having not had much sleep, you know, for ages at that point, then it helps you get into your routine a lot quicker when you're there. How to share a room, how you manage milk in a hotel room. So yeah, milk in a hotel room, we had Instacart deliveries, which is basically like, you just go on their website, you can order from loads of different like supermarkets and stuff, as you normally would. Just put it all in a basket, and then it's just a bit like Deliveroo, like someone comes and delivers it, and we had it delivered to our hotel lobby. We went and met them, and yeah, we had all of our groceries. So we would order just a huge thing of whole milk. We had a fridge in our room, and we got that every few days to make sure we had milk for Buzz. We also bought cereal, and we took porridge with us as well. So in the mornings, we'd all have breakfast in the hotel room rather than going out and like paying for breakfast. Now, I'm definitely in the minority, but I don't actually really love like American breakfast food. Like, I love pancakes and I love waffles, but like their eggs and bacon and stuff, like, I don't love. And Ollie's not that fussed on it either, and it kind of, I don't know, neither of us feel like we start the day that nicely when we feel full of like heavy food like that. So yeah, we kind of just had cereal in the room, and Buzz did too. We just bought literally like Tupperware bowls from Target, and we used like what are meant to be disposable cutlery from food court, but we just washed them up. Like we just had a few spoons and we just washed them up with our fairy liquid and stuff, and just used those to have cereal in the room in the mornings. We got loads of kind of groceries like snacks, fruit, like oranges and things like that on the grocery order as well, just so we had lots of things to kind of keep us going in the room, and also took out in the park bags as well. Sharing a room, so what we would tend to do is we would kind of, if we were putting him to bed in the room, as opposed to him like falling asleep in the pram whilst we were out and about and then transferring him, we would get him all ready, put him in his sleeping bag, and then we would turn the lights off in the room, shut the curtains, make it as dark as possible, and then Ollie and I would just like, well, one time I was in the bath and Ollie was like sat on the toilet next to me, and we were just chatting in there, but generally we would just both be sat on the bed, like just on our phones or whatever, just having like quiet time until he went to sleep, and then we were able to like put the lamps on and like kind of, you know, chat as normal. I feel like I've answered most of the questions. There are quite a few, but a lot of them are kind of similar, you know, like about jet lag and flight and entertainment, and I don't know, I feel like I have answered most of them. I'm just having a last little flick through. If there is anything else you're wanting to know, please do ask me in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer. I hope that some of these tips and tricks have been helpful. It's so hard to know if like it is or not, but hopefully some of it is. And yeah, if you are traveling with a little one soon, then good luck. Try not to stress. I really do think like the calmer and relaxed you are, the calmer and relaxed the whole like situation will be. I think as well, like a really important thing to kind of keep in your mind is that you're doing your best. At the end of the day, your little one is a little one. They're a baby, they're a toddler, they're a child. Whatever age they are, they're only little, and if they are kicking off, as long as you're doing your best to like comfort them and you're not just ignoring them completely with like your headphones in, I think people around you should understand that. And if anyone is being grumpy or tutty, and I know some people really hate it when they see kids come onto a flight around them, but you're as entitled to be on that plane as they are, and you're all trying to get to where you're going. And especially if it is a flight to somewhere like Disney World, then I'm pretty sure that is going to be one of the most family friendly flights out there. But yeah, just if anyone is being grumpy or making you feel uncomfortable because you have got a baby who's maybe crying or whatever, then just, that's on them. You're doing your best, and you can't control these situations as much as we would love to. We can have all of the tips and tricks and, you know, whatever, but sometimes little ones just don't want to play ball. They could be teething, they could have sore ears, they could just be in a bad mood, you know. It is stressful, but you've got this, and it is so worth it to get where you're going. If you are going away, I hope this did help you. I hope you have the best trip ever, and I hope you did enjoy this video. Please do give it a thumbs up if you did, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you very, very soon for another video. Bye guys. Mwah!